Jack's RPG Podcast. I'm in Max! Pursuing the RPG hobby with reckless abandon.
Why, hello, and welcome to Season 23, Episode 12 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
I'm Jim.
Mine's Stork. Hi.
Hi.
Hi! How are you?
I was reading the back label of Dr. McGillicuddy, The Legacy of Dr. McGillicuddy, and his black licorice schnapps, which Stu has poured a glass of and
I don't know if
looks
you can see
exactly like
looks-
what you get out of your drain when you're cleaning it.
Yes, it's brackish. Yeah.
But is it tasty?
It looks like squid ink.
It does.
It
And it does, doesn't
That
it?
does
does.
look like squid.
Well, slightly watered down squid ink.
Yeah.
It's black licorice schnapps, for God's sakes.
I love it. You know what it tastes? It tastes a little bit like Jägermeister.
Yeah, I believe that. Or ouzo with a blackish color.
Yeah,
Or,
tastes like Jägermeister.
Yeah.
Or NyQuil. Actually, tastes a lot like NyQuil.
Yeah.
yeah, I get that. That's actually quite
Licorice
tasty.
with a NyQuil overtone, yes.
It's actually quite tasty.
It's delicious.
I like that.
I just wish it didn't look like the stuff you get out of your washing machine when you clean
You
out
know,
the
you know where that would go
drain.
really well?
Mhm.
As a pour over ice cream.
Ooh, yeah. Like chocolate mint.
Yep.
Chocolate mint chip. That would be good.
Maybe put that over a dark chocolate brownie. I think we've just invented a dessert.
Yes. Or instead of putting ice cubes in it, put monkey poop in it. The salted
Oh,
black
yeah.
licorice.
Yeah.
No.
What is it called? Jungle Scream or
something like that. Something
Jungle
with a
Cry?
scream,
Or-
yeah.
I don't know.
Gross.
In this episode of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast, Nathan writes in about post-game questions to improve your game. Tarlin writes in about a player who is too into character. And Nicholas from Sweden sends us a horror/sorrow story. But first, if you'd like to email us, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. We're also on all the social media. Happy Jacks RPG, all one word. We're on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and MeWe. Come MeWe with me. I'm MeWeed.
For the second time.
Third.
Okay. He's been saying it for months.
And it started a thread, and there were some very interesting things in the thread. And someone pointed out there's as many. Oh, by the way, we have a new forum. happyjacksforum.com. happyjacksforum.com. You can go and register and join our new forum.
Or if you go to happyjacks.org/forum, it also goes to
Oh,
the new forum. Yeah.
you forwarded
Yeah,
that.
you can
Okay.
click on the website. It goes
So you
right
can
there.
post your "I never thought it would happen to me"
Yes.
Right.
thread.
Right, exactly. And if you'd like to watch the show live, you can go to happyjacks.org/live. We do the show at 7 p.m.-ish Pacific time. And that's right now. Well, it's actually 7:06. So, and see, we have a game convention coming up, President's Day weekend at Strategicon. This one is Orcon?
Yeah.
Orcon. And that is at the LAX Hilton Hotel.
Hilton.
It's been a while. And
LAX Hilton.
I need to book a room. I don't think I've booked a room yet.
Probably ought to get on that.
Yeah. I'm going to find out if my kids are coming or not.
Yeah. You got games submitted?
Oh, God.
I might. I'm not. I don't remember. I may have, but I may have registered games already. I'm not sure.
I have actually not registered mine.
Oh, you haven't?
I know what I'm going to run now, or I think I do. I'm going to run a game in Cortex Prime that is going to be based on. Penny Dreadful.
Oh,
Nice.
cool. Okay.
I'm going to do a Penny Dreadful based game, and then I'm going to do a game in the new version of Savage Worlds that is coming out.
Cool.
So
Awesome. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't. I don't think I registered anything yet.
still got a little time.
I may run a Traveler game because by then the new Traveler campaign should have started. So I may run something that ties in with that, and I'll probably run a Moment of Truth game. Maybe in Bloodblade and Dusk.
Why would you want to run that?
I know. It's a terrible game, terrible setting. Post-session comments to help improve your game from Nathan. Howdy, Happy Jack's crew. Long-time listener, first-time emailer, Nathan from Indiana here. At the end of each session for any long-term campaign that I run, I ask my players a set of questions that hopefully help build character personality, highlight player accomplishments, and improve the game overall. I have listed those questions below with some small descriptions for each. I would like to hear your thoughts about these questions, any pros and cons, and any ideas for improvement you might have. To kick things off, I ask my players to roll a die, and I choose either the highest roller or the lowest roller to go first. Then I proceed clockwise around the table, with each player answering the same question before moving on to the next question. What did your character learn this session? This question helps build character's personality and solidify in-character experiences. If the episode, if each session was an episode of a TV show, what would the audience have learned about your character? This question really helps clarify the personality of the character and highlights aspects, skills, background of the character. Any votes for good role-playing? Players can vote for any other players role-playing in a session, with the GM being the tiebreaker if needed. There's typically a minor award for the winner of this as well. It could be an inspiration for 5e game, extra Benny for Savage Worlds, etc. Any votes for great ideas or creative actions? Just like with role-playing, with the role-playing award, players can vote for any other players' actions or ideas in the session that, with the GM being the tiebreaker if needed. There's typically a minor reward for this as well. What is your favorite moment in the session? This is not a when my character did this cool thing, but instead intended to focus on other players' actions and other elements of the story. Additionally, I try to encourage the players to each choose a different moment in the session. This helps highlight a variety of things that the players enjoyed about the session. Are there any things you liked, things you didn't like, or suggestions for improvement for the campaign? This gives the players a chance to bring up things that either took away from or added to the fun. I'm a firm believer that it's the GM's job to ensure that everyone's enjoying the game. Therefore, if I'm doing something right or wrong, I want to know about it. Good on you. This is also a time to bring up questions about the mechanics and proposed changes that might help improve future sessions. Cheers, and thanks for producing great content, Nathan. P.S. It was great meeting Stu and Bill at Gen Con a couple years back. Excellent. I bumped into you guys at the Games on Demand line. I remember that. I hope that Gen Con was fun and worth the trip from California. It was.
Cool. I have thoughts.
Go.
You'll be shocked. I have thoughts. In principle, I love the idea of debriefing after playing, because I think it gives everyone a chance to talk about things that happened. I'm a bit less formal about it than this. I like the idea of questions, having specific questions you ask. There are a couple of them I probably wouldn't use.
Right.
Personally, the votes for good role-playing and the vote for creative ideas I probably would not do. There are a number of games that have built-in mechanics. Mouse Guard leaps to mind, where you the table votes for whether you accomplished your character's principal goal and things along those lines. I don't care for that mechanic.
Right.
It can turn into a best buddy kind of thing, where prime example, the guy always votes for his girlfriend.
Right. Sure.
Kind of thing. I'm not saying that's what's going on in Nathan's group. I think what Nathan's group is doing is awesome. I personally probably wouldn't be this formal about it.
Right.
But that's cool. But I love the idea of a post-game debrief. Give everyone a chance to talk about what happened in the game, and as the GM, this is when I usually try to talk the least and let them talk. Let this be the players' time to talk amongst themselves. But I'm listening and I'm taking notes during this, because I want to hear what they have to say. Because this kind of feeds into Jib's rules number 1, which is whatever's going on in your game, leave it back to the player characters, no matter what it is, no matter how small, no matter how, little things that can happen in your game, like in the very first episode of your game, one of the players comments that his mother committed suicide. Oh, I'm gonna use that later.
Sure, right.
I'd never use that, would I, Kimmy?
No.
I'd never do that. I did that to them in the last episode of our GNX game.
Right.
Anyway, my thoughts.
Storkalophagus? No?
Well, I like the idea of having a list of questions. I like the idea of debriefing. It seems almost like homework, though. If like every game you have the exact same questions everywhere. But I appreciate the fact that it's actually being asked.
Right.
Sometimes as a player, you kind of just feel like it's an adversarial conversation. So, all right, man, we caught the GM flat-footed and such, and it's kind of nice when they say, so, what was your favorite moment? Or what do you think I can do to improve? Because now all of a sudden it's breaking the game down into less of a competition, I guess, because sometimes that's still a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And it allows the players to really express, and everybody's, they're all part of the story together. It reinforces that, I think.
Right.
It's something you do. You usually ask some questions, a couple of questions at the end of the thing. But I think it's really important for the GM. It's more important for the GM than it is for the players, I think, because oftentimes you feel like a voice crying in the wilderness. You have no idea what your players are thinking. You have no idea if you suck, because if you're like any of us, you're constantly thinking you're failing.
Right.
All the time. You're like, oh my God, that sucked. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
And
I feel attacked. It's so true.
Oh my God. I can't believe they hated it. They hated it. And then you sort of ask a couple leading questions, to somebody on the phone.
Oh, so good.
Like, oh, it was so good. You're like, really?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, of course it was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Pick it up, Katie.
All right, I'm going to come at this a little bit like a teacher. Like, some people really appreciate knowing the questions ahead of time so they can think about it. And some people, like Stork said, are going to feel like that's homework.
Right.
So I think sometimes that can be great. I think having a little bit more of an organic conversation might actually get you more information, like kind of all of what Jib was saying. Like just having them talk about it a little bit afterwards. But if there's specific things that you want to get at, I think like pre-prepped questions can be very helpful. And I know people are going to be like, oh, you're just like one of the teachers who like, you get the participation trophy. It's like, no, I'm not actually at all. But I don't necessarily like the competitiveness of who
was the best role player. Right, yeah.
Maybe that's because I play the Stork and I never win that award. But because he would always get it because he's always the best role player.
That's
not
true.
Unless Abria's here.
No, if there's any accents involved, Abria's screwed. She can't roleplay accents to save her life. But love you, Abria. But I don't know. I think like having everyone go around and point out a moment they loved of somebody else's. Like I think that's more community group building. Everybody gets to point out something. Oh, I loved when Stork did this. Oh, I loved when Jib did that. And so everyone kind of gets a little bit of validation going around the table. And it's not necessarily like, oh, he's the best.
Right.
So, and it points out more moments which are collaborative and multiple people can be involved in. So you're giving kudos to multiple people at the table rather than like one person.
Right.
So I think that would be a little bit less of a player versus player way of accomplishing the same goal at the end of the game.
I appreciate what you're saying there because I know in classrooms you really don't want to pit the students against each other.
Right.
You have to go through great pains to make sure that everybody's sort of feeling equal because a little competition is maybe okay. Sort of like all right, let's see who can be quiet. I don't know.
Yes.
But
kindergarten level blood sport is really interesting.
Right. But having everybody vote on who's the best role player at the table makes everybody feel really embarrassed. Oh, God.
See that the questions that he put in here that I thought were most interesting is like what did you learn about other characters during this session?
I liked that.
That to me I think is an awesome question to ask and something that I had not thought of. And also if this was a TV show, what did the audience learn about your character or other characters at the table during the session? I think those are interesting questions that I don't think we've come across.
That's a great question because it gives you the third-person point of view. It's like, this is what the player was intending. This is what they did. And you as a GM go, oh, that's what you were trying to do when he explains to you what he thinks the audience got out of his performance.
Right.
I will say, going back to the role-playing thing for just a second, particularly when I'm running Savage Worlds, I do something slightly different. I have a particular colored Benny that I give to each of the players, and this Benny is to be given to one of your fellow players when they do something in the middle of the game that's really cool.
Right.
So, somebody does something really awesome, bang.
Right.
That way they can reward that moment in time without it becoming a competitive kind of thing. It becomes a collaborative.
And it also
sort of thing.
takes the onus off you a little bit to always be on the ball with giving up bennies, which is always something that I've always failed at.
It's hard.
The one thing that I've always contended is that feedback for the GM about the game, about the running of the game, I very rarely get helpful feedback at the table. It always tends to be later
Yeah.
that you end up getting the real honest critique about, well, you've been doing this, and because a lot of times people don't want to bring that stuff up at the table. Yeah. And I mentioned that in the MeWe, which I posted earlier today. And some of the MeWeans responded.
I have to say that's a fantastic name.
I think MeWeans.
It's not enough to make me join that social media platform.
I know, that's fine.
But MeWeans is a pretty amazing name.
MeWeans is a great name.
Yeah, it works. Eric said, as for comments, I haven't tried this yet, but was it Happy Jacks where someone suggested using a public Gmail account where everyone could post anonymously about how they feel about the campaign? Yes, I think that was us.
Yeah.
I always liked that idea, even if I had not used it. I do agree that the table is the worst time for it.
Yeah.
Usually, since my games are once a month, I text players about a week afterwards to sort of take a temperature of the game. I've gotten good feedback there that has helped me improve things for the people.
Yeah.
And
I think as a player, like, having some time to, like, step back and reflect, too. Because, like, we all have the moments, like, at the end of the game. Usually, like, I mean, not always, but, there's usually something exciting happening at the end of a session.
Right.
And you all kind of riding that high. Oh, this is the best game. This is the best. Oh, it's the best. And so you go home, and you still have good thoughts on it, but you reflect a little more, and you get actual useful thoughts.
Right.
That aren't just, this is the best game ever! And that's like, thanks.
Yeah, see, that to me is a totally unhelpful thing.
Yeah,
It's nice, it's gratifying.
Yes.
Sure.
But it's not.
But it's not going to improve my game.
Useful.
No.
It's not even telling you what about it is the greatest ever.
That's one reason why I like to leave it a little more freeform, and just discuss, carry on, because I like to see where their thoughts go.
Yeah.
Right after the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Rather than me going, so what do you think about the thing?
Yeah.
Again, also, I don't want to talk during this time. I want to listen to what the table is saying at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
If you're in a show, it's great that you get a standing ovation. As a performance you live for, but really, you still go home and read the reviews.
Oh, yeah.
You still really, because that's where you're going to figure out, what the nuts and bolts is. The standing ovation was great, but the reviews, that's where they break down the show, and you're like, okay, all right, that's when
That's where you get. It's kind of like I've said over and over again. I have never learned how to stop a hockey puck better by stopping a hockey puck, but I have learned how to stop hockey pucks a lot better by digging one out of my frickin' net.
Sure. Right. Well, it's like the Boggarts. Our bass player Ian. He gets no feedback on how to improve his bass playing by looking at the audience when they're clapping. No. He gets that feedback when he looks over at me and I give him a sideward glance when he plays wrong note.
or is lagging, or dragging. Yeah.
Right. Well, he doesn't drag.
No.
But every so often he'll play a run and get like one of the notes off, and I'll hear it. No, I don't think anyone else does, but I'll be like, and he's like, and he shakes his head in sorrow and shame. But not that he's a fantastic bass player. But,
No, yeah, he is.
But negative feedback is what's going to improve what you do.
Yeah.
Whether it's the pain of having a hockey puck sticking out of your neck,
because negative feedback can also just be the same as a standing. It's the opposite of a standing ovation, which is just being negative and not constructive criticism.
Yeah, constructive criticism.
I'm not. No, you know what? I'm not gonna hem and haw and namby-pamby the words. It's negative. I want to know what I did wrong, so I can not do it again.
Right.
That's what I want. I want that this thing happened and it sucked. Boom! I know not to do that again.
Rather than just it sucked.
Well, that's just that.
Yes. I think the constructive thing that
it doesn't even have to.
We're going
I don't even need constructive. Specific is what I need.
Yeah.
Okay,
I need,
that's fair.
This thing
that's
sucked.
What we were driving at with that was it's meaningful and
there's specificity.
Specificity.
Yeah,
and I think that's also something that players need to remember too. Is like when your player asks you how, or when your GM asks you how it was, he's not asking it to be polite. He genuinely wants to know. And if there was something wrong, tell them.
Yeah.
And usually,
yes,
there are GMs that will ask that. And like, hey, wait a minute.
And if he doesn't really want to know, fuck him.
Right. And you'll know.
Yeah.
And you'll know because they just argue.
Thank you.
No.
Yes. Yeah. If they argue back with you.
Right.
You know, I was just thinking that question about what would be the one thing the audience would remember or learn about your character. That's actually a really good question for us, with helping us with recaps for the next session.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. That is, yeah.
Because what happened is important as well, but it's almost more important. Like, what was one thing we learned about each character in the last game? It's like, oh,
Right.
that's almost as important as the audience knowing what actually happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that was the
And that kind of feedback also encourages the players to play characters that are maybe a little more three-dimensional.
Yeah.
Characters that will grow during the game or
Absolutely.
evolve in some way, I
Yeah.
think, too.
Yeah, that's a really. I really like that question.
Yeah, I think his early questions are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of agree about the sort of competitive nature of who was the best role player. Although best moment isn't necessarily competitive.
Yeah, and just having everybody share a great different moments, different things, so it's not like you are the best.
I think we can agree. I mean, regardless of the questions you ask, that having questions at the end and having a debriefing is important.
Is valuable.
Yeah.
Yes. Totally
we
agree.
can nitpick about the.
I would almost
phrasing of the
say to do it at the beginning of the next session.
Ooh.
Give the players time to cogitate over the whole thing, and then ask if they can remember what
Right.
happened.
Well,
I mean, there is that problem
Well,
because we have aging players and we play every 2 weeks.
I think that's on point, though, because I think that the things that really stick out for them are going to stick with them.
This is true.
I think so.
And if you raise a question at the beginning of the next game, and they're like, then that's fine.
Right.
But if something really struck them during a game, that's going to stay.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll remember that.
That moment when I wanted to use that one thing that I paid money for on my character sheet that I didn't get to use.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to remember that in 2 weeks.
Oh yes.
I'm going
yes,
to remember
you
that I
will.
paid a shit ton of points for persuasion, and when I wanted to do persuasion, you blew it off.
Right. Rather than letting me roll or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't make my thing meaningful.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Nathan, for the compelling email.
Yeah.
We
that's
appreciate
really
it.
email.
Good. I
Good
like
email.
it.
Next email, 2 in character from Tarlin. Who would like to read 2 in character?
It's TOO.
2 in character.
Two in character.
2 in character.
I'll read this one.
All right, go.
Greetings and happy holidays of all flavors, beloved Jackers. Longtime listener, found you around season 14. Listen back to season 1.1.
Wow.
As I also listen forward. First time writer. So,
Wait. I'm sorry. He listened from the middle out.
Yes.
Oh God.
Yeah, people have done that.
yes.
That's so if you want to watch the show Degenerate.
I don't know.
it's
We're
really-
degenerating going
We
both
are.
directions.
So they started at the peak, and now they're just going down both ways. All right. So a story that leads to a question. In a superhero game, there were 2 players, me and Dude. Dude is capitalized.
Information, man. Oh, wait, I got a dude outtake. Where
You
is it?
do?
Hold on. Yeah.
You know, that's just like your opinion, man.
I've got information, man.
That's fair.
New shit has come to light.
Shit has come to light.
There, I got dude.
All right. I played a cat burglar. Cat burglar. In quotes, rules are inconvenience. Quote, trying to be reformed. Crooked hero. CB.
CB Cat Burglar.
Yeah.
Got it.
Crooked hero.
Dude played Earth's newest Green Lantern, GL. Law and order on a galactic scale.
Right.
The game has been running for quite a while, and we all had a really good handle on our characters. CB had a temper, so that's his cat burglar.
His character.
And we were wrapping up a scenario where the mastermind had messed with a friend of hers. Cat Burglar had seen this job as partial atonement for her past crimes. She was helping to take down some bigger criminals. After the battle with the mastermind's superpower minions, Cat Burglar and Green Lantern were tasked with bringing in the mastermind. Then, out of the blue, Green Lantern ditched her, saying she wasn't trustworthy to be in on the arrest. He went off and handled things himself. Cat Burglar was stunned. She was not trusted, not a real team member. That previously mentioned temper flared, and she quit the team. Dude, and I leaned back from the table, and GM was like, what the fuck just happened? Now, Dude and I were fine. In character stayed pretty much in character. Still, this was a bit of a mess, so we wrapped the session. Next week, the GM says, we need to deal with this. Dude and I agreed. Here's a plan. A neutral NPC will bring Cat Burglar and Green Lantern together. We'll have them hash it out, and we can get them back on the team. And here's the crux of it. We started, both of us players, fully intending for our characters to patch things up. But when we switched to PCs in our heads, it was like we could not make it happen.
I love it.
Green Lantern would say something, and then Cat Burglar would react the wrong way. Then Green Lantern would get defensive, and Cat Burglar would start crying. Then Green Lantern would get all stony. After like 20 minutes, the GM stepped back in. Both Dude and I were totally in our characters' heads, and what I've heard called deep immersion. Even though both players wanted to end with kisses and hugs, the characters could not let it happen.
I need a DM at my dinner conversations with my wife.
So, my question. Have you ever been so deep into your character that it has started doing things you did not want it to? No, not like, quote, it is totally in character for me to do the stupid thing, quote, end quote, when it's obvious the player wanted to do the stupid thing. Yours, Turlin. P.S. Could Dave, quote, end stimulation.
Simulation.
Oh, yeah, end simulation. Sorry.
Sometimes the mouth says what it wants to
does.
say.
I love you, Dave. What can I say? End simulation and crew evaluations. Brilliant. PPS. Stu, run a 1920s game so Kimmy can play Dorothy again. That flapper needs more screen time. PPPS. Imbibe.
Imbibe.
Huzzah!
You do it in Dorothy accent?
All right, you gotta imbibe, boys.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
have things ever? I'm just going to wrap this up in a bow. Have things ever spiraled out of all sanity and gone totally pear-shaped? Just watch the last Warhammer game on ShadowCon. Prime example. And I'm not sure how we're going to fix it yet. We're gonna, but I'm not sure how yet.
I feel like Stork and I have had these moments before.
Mac and I really got into it at one point too. But
Yeah.
I tend to just I think me as a person just rubs you the wrong way anyway. But then we can bring it out in characters.
It's funny because it's like the opposite. Like you and I feel like we get along really well, like as friends. And then no matter what we do for characters, and Mac and I are the same way. Like Mac's one of my best friends too, and so is Stork. But it's like no matter what characters we make, like they always annoy the shit out of each other. So she and I will be sitting there talking. We're like, oh my gosh, your makeup's great. Oh, we should go shopping. Oh, let's go see Aquaman together. He's so hot. Blah 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 blah. And then we get in character and we're like, we hate each other. We hate each other. You are my enemy. I hope you die. Oh yeah, so Aquaman this weekend. Okay, with mimosas. Yes, like amazing.
I'm going to resurrect the Oppenheimer story. Because it's exactly this. This is exactly what happened. Bill was running a Champions game, which is the hero system superhero game. I made a character called Dr. Manhattan, who was this guy who had been in working in a nuclear power plant somewhere in Nevada, and he got dosed with radiation and ended up having superpowers. And then his wife and newborn child were killed, and the guy who killed them got off on a technicality, so he's like Batman with no moral center whatsoever.
And nuclear powers.
I like it.
So one of the other characters, I don't remember his character's name, and I don't remember the guy who played him, but he was from the future, and he was in like a battle suit, like a
Fallout armor kind of thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing, right? And he was trying to organize a super team for the city.
Here's your booster gold.
I don't know what that means.
Okay.
And so they had asked me to join this team, and there was like 5 or 6, I think it was 6, maybe 7 players. There were quite a few players. Yeah. And so the first session, I think we went 2 sessions before things blew up. The first session, there were a lot of meetings. And there was like one little skirmish with a villain, maybe. There may not even been a skirmish with a villain. And then on, what?
No.
Oh. And then on the second session, I started getting a little stir crazy. And I'm like, we're supposed to be fighting crime, not going to meetings. So I took one of the other characters, and I said, let's go out on the streets, let's go patrol. So we go patrol, and we're like on top of buildings. Because I could kind of, not fly, but kind of float, because I'm nuclear. And so we were like up on top of a building.
He says that like it's science.
It's science. I'm nuclear. And we're up on top of this
Nuclear.
tall building. I'm nuclear. And we're up on top of this building, and there's some kid steals this woman's purse. He's a teenager. So I like come down and dose him. I don't remember exactly if I killed him or not. He had no business being alive after that, because I probably did. So that, of course, causes this big hubbub with the city and who are these madmen that you're trying to create a super team with, blah, 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 blah. And then there was a big, not fight, but big argument between me and the dude from the future about how one should handle crime fighting. And I had a very black and white view of it, and he had a very shades of gray view of it. And this session got, not personally, but in character, got super, super heated.
Right.
To the point where we kind of sort of ended the session, and the guy who was playing the guy from the future says, I don't think these characters would ever work together again. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I think you're right. So I took my character sheet and I handed it to Bill, and I says, there's a good villain for you. And then I made a character who was mute. And moot. Turns
That
out he was a speedster who
well.
couldn't talk.
Because he outran his words.
I never thought of that. But it was a very similar situation, but we didn't try to resolve it. And maybe you shouldn't have either. Maybe it's like one of you needs to hand the character over and make another character that will be more compatible with them.
Right.
You know, because this is long before anyone thought about making characters that could work well together.
And I will say, I've seen
80s.
this scenario, multiple times, and it's not an invalid scenario by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
That said, I will also say, we engage the game on different levels at different times.
Sure.
And sometimes you engage as your character. And sometimes you engage as a player sitting around a table with a bunch of friends.
Right.
And sometimes you engage because you're playing a fucking game. And sometimes you have to step back from that immersion thing and go, whoa. What's the right choice to make for, from a game standpoint? Or what's the right choice to make from a player standpoint? And that's not wrong either.
Right. Yeah, I think, this wasn't, this was, we were totally in character. I mean, we were like standing up yelling at each other.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But as soon as the game was over, we were like, yeah, I don't think our characters are ever going to work together again.
So let me ask you this, because this kind of maybe leads into what I was asking. Was there any bleed, any fallout in real life because
Absolutely
of this
not.
argument?
No, none at all.
Because I just have seen that happen, and I think
Sure.
it's a thing that can happen.
Yeah.
It's bleed, where you get so caught up in the game, you get so caught up in your characters, and maybe session after session. Sometimes it's somebody's character killed another character, right, and now they're pissed in real life at that person. It can be dangerous, and it can be really intense.
I can see that could happen if you were playing characters who were sort of versions of yourself, kind of, or you know what I mean, or like idealized.
Or you just get caught up.
Right.
You invest.
But
so much.
I was playing a character that I don't agree with, making arguments I would never make. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think
I was basically kind of like the devil's advocate, and my character was the devil.
right. I've also I've had moments. Most of the time when I get upset or frustrated with another player, it's not those arguments in character. I love those. Those are fantastic. Gina and I had some knockdown, drag out arguments in our Dead Ring game, and sisters,
Pickering
just
sisters, right?
yelling at each other, you're, just awful things from our family, and that never made me mad in real life.
Right.
Because that's part of the role play, that's part of the experience. But there have been times where, I've been playing at a table and somebody does something that is metagamey, or they do something that I'm, there's just all those things that aren't necessarily the characters antagonizing each other. It's those moments that they're not being a cooperative player or whatever.
Right.
And those tend to be the things that get me mad out of character.
Right.
So I don't necessarily even think that. I mean, for some people, maybe they are connected. For me, that yelling in character is not something that is usually connected with my real emotions as a person.
Right.
It's the frustration about other things that. Those sometimes start to bleed into my role playing, but I've never had it go the other way, where I was angry in character and that spilled out into my real emotions. I've had sometimes my real emotions spill into I'm really frustrated that you dragged us all into combat when it was unnecessary.
Stork.
That's just the easiest example.
That was a
everybody
time when
knows
players
about.
were generally mad at another
Yeah.
player.
And then that sometimes bleeds into your character. But not necessarily without good reason.
Right.
But just citing that one particular example because everybody knows that backstory.
Yeah,
So,
going down the hallway.
yeah.
Going down.
Had all
Yeah.
new powers.
Yeah.
He wanted to try him out.
It was a fantastic moment
And it
that
was
is
very
now.
in keeping with the character.
Yeah.
And you guys were going to fight them all anyway.
Yeah.
It is now the
And we
most
won.
famous Happy Jack moment, other than maybe the Hedge Mage. Like those two are like
People
Right.
were
equal.
genuinely mad at me. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
not at
Nope.
me.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
at my character,
Number
but
3.
at me.
Number 3. Which
Cheeseburger.
Oh yeah, that's not a character.
It's not even
moment,
our
though.
moment. It's
No.
just,
No,
but
it's famous.
it's
Yeah, that's
Something.
gross. That's gross.
I can totally
Poor
see it.
cheeseburger.
It takes a maturity level because I remember when we were younger, there's a guy that was playing an assassin and he was being a dick and he was stealing stuff or whatever, and the rest of the group ganged up and killed his character. And he was mad. He came back with another. He and the GM worked something out. And he came back with another character, and we could tell already it was just going to be. It was just a vindictive thing.
Right.
He was like, "You guys killed me. I'm going to bring in another guy."
Oh, we had that.
And
We
we're
had
like,
that.
we're like, of course we're 14 and 15 or whatever, and so we're not mature enough to basically role play. And at this point, it was the PC and the player were one.
Yeah.
There was no difference.
right.
I literally had the game where my GURPS game. There were a lot of player characters. I ran the GURPS fantasy game through college. There were a lot of player characters that died at the hands of other player characters.
Yeah.
It happened on more than one occasion.
Yes.
I was running. Well, to give you context of when this was, it was a D&D first edition game,
Okay.
and I had really heinous, evil critical hit tables that I used, and I had 14 players in this game,
Oh my god.
You can do that with first edition.
and
You shouldn't, but you can.
But they're cruising along, and they start squabbling, and it starts to escalate, and it escalates, and it finally gets to a point where weapons get drawn.
Right.
Okay. One round later, there were 3 people left standing,
Oh.
and the 3 of them are looking at each other, going, "What the fuck just happened?"
Awesome.
That's insane.
Yeah, we had one session where 2 of the players colluded to kill the third character because they felt his character was dangerous because he was like paranoid, delusional, and a very, very, very powerful mage. And one of his delusion was that there are demons possessing my friends or something like that. It's like there are demons that possess people, and people can be possessed easily, and the demons are trying to get me. I mean, he had like a very severe delusions. And then I had
love that.
another player made a character. And the 2 players kind of rubbed each other the wrong way sometimes. Not all the time, but once in a while. And this happened to be a moment when they were rubbing each other the wrong way. And one of the 2 characters decided to goad the other character. And the other character had a sword, and he was very dexterous. And he started cutting limbs off. It's like, I want to fast draw my sword. I succeeded by this amount. And then I'm going to all-out attack to his sword arm. And I rolled this amount of damage. Okay, that lops his arm off. Defense roll, failed. Okay, yeah, you lop his arm off. And then he took one other limb and then killed him.
Wow.
So
That'd be a flesh wound.
Right. Right. Except it's GURP, so you don't get to actually talk after that happens. But then, that player who his character died, literally, and I shit you not, made his dead character's brother.
Yep.
And we're not teenagers. We're in our 20s when this is happening.
Yep.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
I love that stuff.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but it's not productive because then it's just
But it's a game.
Yeah.
If everyone's
It becomes
having
the
fun,
Hatfield
I was having
McCoys
fun. I'm like,
all the way through.
Yeah.
Murder.
As long
I don't
as the
need to
players
prep.
walk away from it going,
Yeah.
oh my god, that was beautiful. Thank you for taking that ride with
that
me.
didn't really happen. When I went.
But like we had some pretty heated moments in our GNX game when things got pretty exciting. But when we'd walk away from the table, it was like, yeah, that was beautiful.
Right.
That was great.
Right. Yeah.
So-
Well, and that kind of intercharacter conflict can be very interesting.
Yeah.
And it can make it can become part of the story as long as it doesn't completely derail everything.
Right.
I think it's fine. When characters are actually plotting about killing each other at this point today, older, mellower Stu would be like, let's figure out another way to. How about your characters just part ways and someone just make a new character?
Yeah.
If these characters literally aren't going to be able to work together at all, I kind of failed as a GM because I should be able to make things dangerous or scary enough where they're going to work together anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
But sometimes you just can't it just doesn't work. And if
Yeah.
you get to that point,
One option the GM had in this moment would have been to bring in Nick Fury and
Right.
gone, you are a team.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, and you know, maybe they would have fought and scrabbled the whole time. But,
That'd be so fun.
you know, for me, that would be fun.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then you put one of them in danger. And in real danger.
Right.
And, you know, let the other one be the only one that can fix it.
Are you going to admit that you need my help now?
Yeah.
Exactly. And if we've learned anything from romantic comedies, the fact that they hate each other means they're going to fall in love.
Or their brother and sister.
Or their brother. Yeah,
Right.
that too.
Or both.
That would be
And might
so
also
cool.
fall in
That's
Star
so-
Wars.
that's so
Star Wars.
Greek of
It's
you.
okay.
Not,
Yeah, wow.
not Game of Thrones.
So-
Okay.
so
Star Wars.
Oh,
Actually fall in love.
They figured
smitten.
it out before they did
Right.
that. Yeah.
they did kiss.
Yeah, they figured.
Ew.
Game of Thrones, they made a bunch of kids, so ew.
Oh yeah, Game of Thrones took that to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Turn that one to 11.
Yes. All right.
All right. Horror story?
Thank you very much, Tarlin, for the email.
Yes.
We
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
writing. Write again.
Yes. I'll go.
Sad horror story from Nicholas in Sweden.
Greetings, Jackers. I've been listening and writing in for over 4 years now. My last email was over a year ago.
We
Get
know.
on it. Knowing this would have to be the
Time
next
works different
one
in Sweden.
to write. I consider it a horror story even if it's more sad than horrific. Saddest of all might be that I was playing with my favorite group of friends, playing my favorite campaign that had been running for years. The story begins a few hours before the session. 2 forgetful players had just realized that an old classmate would be staying with them over the weekend. He wanted to join us. Game night was saved. They promised to help him make a character prior to the game. Session starts and our GM is surprised to know that we'll be having a new player joining us. Bad form.
They didn't tell the GM?
Should have told the GM first.
Yeah.
We started spitballing how to introduce a new character to the group. Why any sane person would be found wandering alone in the orc-ridden Badlands. Why would anyone trust such a maniac? Upon their very late arrival, it becomes obvious that they had done so much catching up, but no actual game prep.
Oh no.
Soon begins a short introduction to RP, rules, setting, history, objectives, and so on. Which brings us back to the main issue, who to play. Every idea is shut down and vetoed. Finally, we can agree that no one will be pleased, and so we take the solution that's let us play the fastest. The timid boy abandoned months ago has been with us all along. He even had a character sheet readily available. We only need to bump up a few stats, and we are ready to go. For time, I will keep to the key events. I'm not going to read the next line.
That's pictures of the characters.
Yes. Our party of 5 consists of a warrior priest, a knight, a pistolier, and my prophet, and the priest's young and feeble squire. He has done push-ups all night, every night, since we last remember him. Our sole mission, to find the last holy artifact prophesied through visions and dreams.
I'm suddenly getting like a total Rocky montage here. This little guy,
Dun-dun-dun,
he's punching the meat, and he's running up the stairs of the abandoned temple.
Right.
It's all buff. Yeah.
Anyway,
Sorry.
our pilgrimage takes us to an abandoned dwarven stronghold. My prophet takes the lead, carrying both our artifacts that radiate magic and light. A trap is triggered, and I sacrifice all my equipment to ensure that the artifacts and mission is secure. The prophet is now unarmed, and much of the rations have been lost. There's some general dissatisfaction, but we push on. We advance slowly, now much more aware of dwarven traps. We sneak past epic battles between the Greenskin and Ratman hordes. Orcs seem to be winning. I have a feeling they were playing Warhammer.
Yeah,
Orcs
maybe.
seem to be winning.
Yep, it sounds like
While investigating an empty chamber, we hear footsteps. While hiding, we see a couple of Skaven, yep, they're playing Warhammer, sprint past us, terrified. Soon after, the thundering steps of something massive approaches. While the party shelters in their old hiding spots, I urge them to follow the Ratmen. Surely we can't hide behind stone pillars if the room is swarmed by an endless horde of greenskins. Soon after, I panic and rush after the vermin, deeper into the unknown. I was half expecting the party to follow, but they didn't.
Ruh-roh.
I'm still annoyed how my assumptions were contradicted. Here are the 3 worst offenders. The thundering horde of greenskins turns out to be a single troll.
What?
They brought a cave troll.
They brought a cave troll. The troll ignores the hiding humans as his sole interest are the long-gone rat men. The rats were not native to the dungeon and have run into a corridor that is also a dead end. This leaves me alone and unarmed with the rat men.
Uh-oh.
And as in real life, when a rat gets cornered, they attack. Behind me comes a massive troll. The party swoops in and saves the day. They were epic, where I was not.
No.
This time they are fed up with the shenanigans. The squire takes the initiative, jumps me to take the artifacts. There was never discussion, only a fight, an even fight going nowhere. The pistolier, who invited the new player, joins him while the other player watches. I stop resisting when the knights say that it's too great a risk for anyone to carry both artifacts. The squire and pistolier take one each. Excuse me. When the session finally ends, I was frustrated with the turn of events.
Yeah.
Understandable. No longer a prophet among friends, much more resembling Gollum following his ring. The long exposure to the artifacts has even warped my appearance. Grayish skin with thin white hair. Sounds Gollumish. Mm-hmm. After a few days, I decide to embrace it. Just like Gollum, I would gain their trust, initiate small schemes that might reunite me with my precious. Mm-hmm. Next session, we are back to the 4 core players. GM has handed control to the squire. He states that the squire was never there. All his actions were done by the pistolier, who now carries both artifacts.
What?
I'm baffled. This makes him the one who jumped me, double teaming me into submission, while the others tell me to surrender.
Single teaming. Because there's only one now.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's schizophrenic.
Yeah.
There you go.
While the others...
Tyler Durden.
He's a pistolier. He's got 2 pistols.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ice and fire.
Yeah. The others tell me to surrender as the 2 artifacts are too great a risk to be carried by one man alone, only to have the pistolier carry both of them instead.
Right.
The campaign and relationships between characters made no sense to me. Understandable.
Yep.
It all felt pointless. This had been a meaningful campaign, strict time records and all.
It was meaningful.
It was meaningful. On top of all that, my schemes were shut down as they could derail the campaign or make the other players angry with the GM for enabling them. In short, the following sessions really sucked and I saw no way to go from there. I considered to quit gaming altogether before I eventually retired the character to start off in a clean slate. I can't say anyone behaved badly. I disagree. It was just the perfect storm of circumstances. It made me aware that things I valued most about the game is far less important to my friends. It still lingers in the back of my mind when we play. Yes, on an unrelated note, I had to write in after hearing some of you guys have picked up Warhammer 4th Edition. Yep. In that very same episode, you brought up the old discussion of sandboxes that I think started with an old email of mine back in 2015.
It very well may have.
I'd love to give my short definition on how I view it. Sandbox. These plot points might happen in any order. Railroad. These plot points must happen in this order.
Yeah.
Not really germane. Not really my spin, but okay. I'll make sure to write in on a happier, jackier note next time. Wow.
That sucks. I'm sorry.
It was the new guy's fault.
It was.
It was the FNG's fault.
Yeah, it was the new guy.
Well, and it doesn't make sense for the GM when that character suddenly disappeared. It's like, okay, so you have this now NPC with an artifact. It's just like, just give that one artifact back to him.
Right.
Like, just have...
Or just play it as an NPC.
Squire died of dysentery. Here's the artifact back.
Or just play him as an NPC.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's kind of my spin on it. Yeah, the Squire's gone. The Squire's gone. And he took the artifact.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
He went and sold it.
You know,
That'd be amazing.
you know, just because that
Yeah.
would... I see some points of GM fail in this email. Things like, you know, not taking the venue forward, not letting the thing play out the way it was going to play out. You know, because you had a player who spent a lot of time and effort trying to salvage what had happened to make something meaningful for his character.
Right.
And you basically cock-blocked him.
Yeah.
And that's a fail, in my opinion.
Right. You also
Yeah.
had players bring a new player without checking with the GM first, or at least
Super
giving them a
fucking
heads
lame.
up.
Yeah.
That's a
Because
fail.
the GM could have come up with an NPC
Yeah.
for him to play.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the thing too. It's like, all right, if you're bringing someone and you've got no, like you've given them no notice, you know, they've obviously It sounds like they haven't role played a bunch before because they had to explain like everything to him. This is role
Right. Well,
playing.
it could have been that particular game. Who knows?
or whatever.
Yeah.
But
And the guy rushes in like a bull in a china shop. too.
right, like
Right.
that's the thing. It's like, okay, you walk in like that. You take what the GM kind of gives you, especially if you know it's only for one session. Like, hey, they're in town for 1 week. We want them to play. It's like, all right, you find a prisoner in one of the orc caves or whatever. You free them, and they're going to be with you until you can get out of the cave, whatever it is.
Right.
So there's a reason there, and you don't let them take the most important artifact because they're a new person that you don't necessarily know super well.
That isn't going to ever be back.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I get wanting your friend from out of town to have a good time, but especially when you know it's a one-off, like you don't give them the most important. You don't expect the GM to give them
Right.
the most important thing in your campaign.
Yes.
The player owned up to his fail. He said that he failed. You know, he basically was hoping everybody would follow him. Let's do it! And he chases after the rat creatures and looks around, and everybody else is standing back there going, So he ends up getting cornered by the troll, and he owned up to that. But then he was baffled when the other players were like, "You're a jackass. We're taking these artifacts from you now because you can't be trusted."
Yeah, that was lame.
But I don't know, because in a way, I could totally see. I could have seen Ransom doing that, and you guys going, "You're a freaking jerk. Why would you do that? You have all the artifacts. You don't just run ahead. We're taking them from you." And I could see how
What would
that
happen
would
if the troll had killed you and eaten the artifact?
or taken them, or
Right.
they'd gotten a hold of them and transferred. Who knows,
Right, but that would have been people who were like longtime members of that campaign. Like if someone who dropped into that campaign
Yeah.
was like, "No, Ransom can't have it. I'm going to have it, even though I'm not going to be here next week."
Right.
Like that would have been bullshit.
That-
Like we would. That wouldn't. I don't think we would have let that happen. That would be lame.
Yeah, that's next level BS.
Yeah. Because
Yes.
Ransom is an important part of the campaign, even if he makes dumb decisions sometimes. You know, where this person is not going to be around the next week. So if that person maybe instigated that conversation, like, "Oh, I don't know if we can trust this sorcerer who runs off by himself." Okay, maybe he starts that conversation, but you don't let it sounds like that's the character that started the fight, like without even saying anything, like just tried to steal his
It's
stuff from him.
unclear, but I can totally see how that could happen. Here's the thing: is I think you're right. They wanted to make sure the new player had a good time,
Yeah.
and therefore they weren't being mindful of their character.
The overall health of the game.
Yeah, the collaborative storytelling piece went
Right.
away in favor of let's give our buddy a good night.
Right.
And role-playing games are fun, but they shouldn't be like one night at a strip club fun where like there's only that one night, no one speaks of it again. Like it's a long-term thing most of the time.
What in
What
hindsight?
happens in Warhammer stays in Warhammer.
What in hindsight? What probably would have been best for this situation would be to take the larger meta plot and kind of set it to the side and have like a little side adventure
That
Yeah.
would have been
Yeah.
ideal, yeah.
and let that adventure happen. Not even mention the fact that you're carrying artifacts or do anything that has to do with the artifacts, but just give them like a little one shot.
Right. Which would have been a lot easier if they had notified the GM that this was
Ahead
happening.
of time.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's the
Exactly.
biggest problem.
Yeah, which also would have given the GM the opportunity to go, okay, how's this going to impact the game?
Yeah.
What do we need? How do I, wrangle this to make it, make it work?
And it also takes some mature storytellers, because I'm not sure I would have thought of that on the spur of the moment. I would have been like, well, we got to continue on with the game. All the players want to continue on with the
Right.
game. It's up to me to facilitate this.
Well,
in hindsight, you're right. You would have been like, okay, guys, it would take a mature GM to go, okay, guys, let's do a side. We're gonna do an aside. We're gonna do a
Right, a little sidebar.
sidebar.
Yeah.
That's a mature storytelling. It's a mature GM decision.
I'm also not under the pressure of actually running the game at this moment, so
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to come up with those ideas. when
Right.
you're not under
You
that
don't have a bunch
pressure.
of people sitting there staring at you.
Right.
Here's the new guy we just brought.
Right.
We didn't tell you about.
Yeah.
It's Warhammer, so it's not like PBTA where you can just make it up. Like,
And we're so excited to play because we haven't played in a month. So
Yeah.
we're really excited to see what you have planned for us.
My
And
friend
now,
Bruce from biology.
yeah.
No, he was from out of town. People shouldn't travel. Just stay where you're from.
Don't listen to him.
Yeah, definitely. But give your GM a heads up if you've
Don't move around.
Yeah, play something else for a night. Like,
Yeah.
that's a great opportunity to try different systems.
That's a great idea. It's like, oh, new guy. Okay, tell you what, we're going to set the campaign aside for the night.
Yeah.
And I have this other game that I've been wanting to run that takes us 5 minutes to roll up characters.
Yeah.
Go.
It's called Bushy
Right.
Bushy
This
Bushy.
is the thing.
We just drink.
Fiasco. Welcome.
You know,
Yeah.
here's some fiasco. Here's
candles.
some Here's some malice. Here's
Yeah.
some,
Right, yeah.
Here's my favorite little PBTA game. Here's playbooks. Pick one.
Or just an orc murder mystery in the middle of the swamps.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But the idea is,
But the GM, of course, has to know.
but the GM
Yeah.
has to be on his toes and thinking about, and you kind of need to know about that ahead
Aware.
of time.
Yeah.
And people need to have a level of maturity. Now, things having gone sideways the way they did in the session, as the GM, I think that I might have gone afterwards, this is weird. Okay, let's everybody put our heads together and figure out how we're going to wrangle this.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll retcon if we have to,
Yeah.
but wrangle this so that we truck on.
Right.
Well, and the GM didn't help next session when he just retconned everything, like it didn't happen. And but when some of it happened because clearly you've got all the artifacts
Right.
now.
Yeah.
And the lack of the artifacts now affects your character. So here's all of
Right.
it. So he did put some thought into screwing this guy over.
Well, yeah, and he had sacrificed all of his stuff in
Yeah.
the previous set. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it also sounds like the player never told the GM how he felt.
That is also
That's
possible.
entirely
it said,
possible.
and it seems like he just kind of
So-
went with it and was like, "Oh, this sucks. I'm unhappy, but
He
I'm
may
gonna
have
just
been
retire this character and
he
not
may
Do,
talk about
do
it."
Scandinavians
So
talk
blind.
about their feelings? Stork?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
The crux of this, though, that we get back to is something we've said once or twice, and that is have a grown-up conversation.
Right.
Well, he may have also just been
Well,
so blindsided by what just
I
happened.
think he was.
Yeah.
I
And
think he was.
he may have been expecting something else that may have come of it. All right, I'll roll with this. I'll roll with this. Okay, this has been fun for the last couple of years. I'll roll with this, and then you're like, okay, this.
Wait, what just happened?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And I will say that I'm very sorry that this made you consider giving up RPGs, and I'm very glad that you did not.
Yes.
Especially because we like your emails,
Here,
Yeah.
here.
but also because RP is super fun, but also mostly the emails. We need your emails.
We need you.
And what else are you going to do in the bleak midwinters of Sweden if you're not role playing?
Masturbate?
Well,
always
okay,
that.
that's 20 minutes. And then what do you do?
It takes you 20
Have a
minutes
sandwich
to
and go back.
masturbate?
Oh, I got CBS. What is it called? All Access. Because I finally broke down. I wanted to watch the new Star Trek.
Okay.
It's like $5 a month or $6 a month or something like
Right.
that. Which I was like, it was a big fuck you to all the Star Trek fans, right? But I went ahead and got it. I'm only on the second episode of it. It's really good.
Cool. Yeah.
I'm
But it's-
digging it so far. It takes place before the original series.
Nice.
They've
Discovery, right?
Yeah. They've redesigned the I was going to say orcs. They redesigned the Klingons.
Again?
Yes.
They're in a transitional phase still.
No, they look totally different.
Oh, okay.
They look totally different.
They don't have lobster heads anymore?
They kind of do, but they don't have. None of them have hair
Okay.
or beards. And they are wearing a lot more prosthetics on their face.
Okay.
I mean, they have like these. Yeah, they still look a little Klingon-ish, but the sort of like, kind of like quasi Klingon samurai look they had in like Next Gen and those things.
Okay.
Well, they didn't have like top knots, but they with the big hair.
Yeah.
Sort of like the quasi barbarian
Right.
Klingons.
Mongolian.
Yeah, Mongolian Klingons. No, that's gone.
Okay.
They look like aliens. They're still bipeds, but but other than that, they don't look a lot like Klingons anymore.
Interesting.
Isn't the backstory that their sun or moon or something has been irradiating them slowly, so they've been mutating?
I don't think there's a backstory explaining why
There is.
Discovery.
That's a good one, though. If they don't do it, they
There
should
is
do
a
it.
backstory in Enterprise as to why some Klingons look like they did in the original series, and why some of them look like
Lobster heads.
Yeah.
lobster heads, and that's because of the. I'm going to call him Reverend Sun Young Moon, but that's not his name. Dr. Sung.
Yeah, that's it.
Right, because of he had the virus that makes people superhuman because of the Khan storyline,
Yes.
right? Because the Khan storyline kind of starts in Enterprise now, because it goes back to him and he was involved in the genetic manipulations. So there are Klingons who were genetically manipulated and look a little more human. Those are the Klingons of the original series now.
Okay.
And that's actually, I think they explain that. That's actually, I think it's explained in DS9. I think Worf mentions the fact that they go, I think there's a Mirror Darkly episode or something like that. in that
Maybe.
one.
I didn't keep up on all the lore. The last I had heard is that they were being irradiated by their...
If this was comic books, you'd be totally interested.
Yeah,
I'd be 100% interested.
But yeah,
And you would have gotten my Booster Gold joke if you know comic books.
I
like
don't know
this well.
comic
I know.
books. But
You'd like Booster Gold. He's a
but
corporate superhero.
That's the discrepancy between those series has been explained. This new one, to my knowledge, has not been explained.
Cool.
As of yet.
All right.
Oh, maybe they learned to grow hair. Maybe the Klingons invent Rogaine between Discovery and the original
Or
series.
maybe that's just like their style changed. Maybe,
It could be.
like-
No, but their facial features are dramatically different.
Oh, okay.
Because they're basically people with a prosthetic on their foreheads that looks like a soft shell crab.
Yeah.
Right? These are not.
Oh, okay.
These are very different.
All right. Interesting.
I'm sure they've got some reason why.
I think it was
has yet
just a
to be
design
evolved.
choice, and the guy who's doing it is like, "Fuck you, I don't care. I'm going to make the Klingons the way I want them to look."
That's pretty bold.
Yeah.
That's pretty bold.
Well, at least it's in the same timeline, and it's not in the what's his name timeline. Because you now have two different
Yeah.
timelines.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've got the J.J. Abrams timeline,
That is not a thing.
which is, I don't think anyone's ever going to do anything with that ever again.
And
All
then
the
you've got
lens flare.
Yeah, all the ones in this.
There's actually not as much as in a J.J. Abrams film, but there is quite a bit of lens flare in this. And considering, I really kind of wish they would look at, because it takes place before the original series, but after Enterprise.
Okay.
And I really wish they would have taken that the look of the bridge in the original series and retrograded it to make it less high tech, because the bridge looks more high tech than any of the series ever. 100%. I mean, that's kind of a good thing that they did with Enterprise.
Yeah.
Shit looks like it just barely got finished.
Right. That was actually my favorite thing about Enterprise was their shit didn't work either.
And it works and it runs like crap. Yes, that was that, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. That's Enterprise in a nutshell.
Yeah.
But this one, it would have been really cool if the bridge had looked like the 1960s bridge, but lower tech. Mm-hmm. So it still has, everything's kind of boxy and whatever, but it just, there's just more visible screws and rivets and stuff like that. But it's not. It's like all glass, and it looks higher tech than any Enterprise ever.
Yes.
But so far, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I know we ran late, and that's it.
Yep.
That's all I have to say on Star Trek. I have many things to say on other things.
Over.
I'm gonna play the thing.
Yeah.
I can't hit that note. I was trying to hit a really high one, but I can't hit it. Thank you for joining us for season 23, episode 12 of Happy Jack's RPG podcast. My name is Stu,
My name is Kimmy.
I'm still Jib.
I'm Stark.
and we will see you next week, Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific time-ish, for another episode. Join us next week, and until then, we'll leave with a song.
Anything going on Sunday?
Yes.
Bloodblade and Tusk.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Happy 'Twas down by Killarney's green woods that we strayed. The moon and the stars, they were shining. The moon shone its rays on her locks of golden hair, and she swore she'd be my love forever. Red is the rose that in yon garden grows, and fair is the lily of the valley, and clear are the waters that flow from the Boyne. But my love, she is fairer than any. Wee birdies sing and the wildflowers spring, and in sunlight the waters are sleeping. But the broken heart will ken nay second spring again, and the world may not know how we're meeting. Oh, you take the high road and I'll take the low road, and I'll be in Scotland afore ye. But me and my true love will never meet again on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond. 'Tis not for the parting that my sister pains, 'tis not for the grief of my mother, 'tis all for the loss of my bonny Irish lass, that my heart it is breaking forever. Red is the rose that in yon garden grows, and fair is the lily of the valley, and clear are the waters that flow from the Boyne. But my love, she is fairer than any. By yon bonny banks and yon bonny braes, where the sun shines bright on Loch Lomond, where me and my true love were one to gay, on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond. Oh, you take the high road and I'll take the low road, and I'll be in Scotland before ye. But me and my true love will never meet again on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond. Red is the rose that in yon garden grows, and fair is the lily of the valley, and clear are the waters that flow from the Boyne. But my love, she is fairer than any on the bonny, bonny banks of Loch Lomond.
The preceding program has been a presentation of the Angry Folk Media Empire.
Why problem make when you no problem have, you don't want to make?